Okay, welcome Health Psychology SSC. This is the post-class work, looking at the self-authoring things that we did in week 2. Yesterday in class, we looked at the five-factor personality model, and we also uh, looked at creating a profile for ourselves, and we also started looking at some of the difficulties that a personality um, presentation can give us. We looked a little bit at describing each fault and what it can entail. We looked at particularly extroversion, mainly because that's the only one that we really had time to look at. Looking at some of the difficulties that are associated with it. I want you to continue with this task in the next um, wee while as the post-class task. We also talked a little bit about openness and some of the problems that can come with either low or high trait openness. You might recognize some of these for yourself. You might recognize some of the issues, some of the difficulties on maybe both ends if you're kind of in the middle. For neuroticism as well, there was obviously some of the difficulties that were associated. High neuroticism is one of the manifestations of personality that people generally don't want. Like I said the other day, there is some positives with it. It means that you can recognize problems before other people do, but there's obviously negatives with it as well. Some of the best things that you can do if you're high in negative emotion, some of the best ways to deal with this is to regulate your sleep. And the way to do that is to get up at the same time every morning. That makes a big difference to your emotional state, because your um, emotional state is regulated at least partly by your circadian rhythms, and waking up at the same time every day can have a real impact upon that. Uh, there's also some, as well as the problems with high neuroticism, there's also some problems with low as well. Overconfidence, not really noticing any particular problems whenever you really should. Insensitivity to emotional nuances, ignoring risk. You can have a look at these and you can think if any of them particularly would describe you. Conscientiousness, high conscientiousness, which is what a lot of you will be, because to get into medical school, you pretty much have to be quite highly conscientious because you have to work quite hard, basically. So you might be overcritical, you might be a bit of a perfectionist, you might be prone to overwork, therefore prone to exhaustion. And it can affect other parts of your life, because if all you're focusing on is work and not the other parts of life as well, then it can affect your relationships. If you're low in conscientiousness, you might find that you never get any work done. You might find that you're disorganized and you procrastinate. You might find that you're irresponsible as well and miss out on the benefits that come with, say, responsibility. High agreeableness, we spoke about the problems with this, of avoiding conflict, of finding it difficulty to deal with criticism, and having too much self-sacrifice. Low agreeableness can result in antagonism and stubbornness, a whole bunch of other problems as well. So once you've got a list of this, what do you do now? Well, what I want you to do is to look on Moodle, where you will find an exercise sheet. Now, what this exercise sheet does is it takes you through the different areas for growth and how you can work on them. Now, what you'll find is you'll find a blank sheet like this here, but you will also find a completed one. So on the completed one, we take the personality traits. This is an example one. This is somebody who scored the personality traits that were in the lecture slides. And then for this person, they've thought about different areas for growth that they might have. So becoming more flexible and faced with new ideas, for example. There's ones in there for conscientious, there's ones for extroversion as well. Now, this is areas for growth by your own definition, by the person filling it in his own definition. This isn't anybody else telling you how you should be. This is you deciding where your difficulties lie. Next thing we want you to do is to choose one of the areas and then write about it. Now, the writing about it is important because it helps you to work through where that issue came from, and then also what you can do about it now that it's there. This person has chosen to look at managing high neuroticism, stress, anxiety, emotional reactivity. First thing to do is maybe try to think about where this comes from. What are the origins for it? This person says, my tendency towards anxiety and stress likely developed through a combination of personal expectations and past experiences where performance and responsibility were strongly emphasized. Maybe that this person's always been quite hard on themselves and always giving themselves high expectations. Maybe that's why they're in medical school. Maybe they set themselves high expectations when they were young, resulting in a lot of stress. And that may be part of what it is that's brought them to this place now where they realize, yeah, this is a problem. Then think about, well, okay, so you've kind of said this is a problem, but reflect on the impact that it has on your life. Reflect on how it affects different aspects of your life. Now, you can think of this in terms of personal relationships, career, well-being. You can think of it in terms of what it stops you doing that you would like to do, habits that it's made you form that you didn't like. This person says that they have increased mental fatigue and self-criticism. In academic settings, it can lead to overthinking and difficulty switching off, and reduced enjoyment even when performing well. In personal relationships, worry and emotional reactivity can sometimes make me worry more, and make me more withdrawn or irritable. This can always be a problem. Okay, so then what we're looking for is looking at some goals for improvement, thinking about what are ways that I can actually improve here? What are ways that might make a difference to me? Making them as realistic and practical as possible. Now these goals are okay. They could maybe be a bit more detailed, and we'll talk about SMART goals in a minute and a little bit more about what that would be. So they're looking for, this person's looking for healthier coping strategies. They're looking to learn the early signs of anxiety before it escalates, practice responding to challenges more calmly, and then also improve their work-life balance to protect recovery time. And that's useful. That gives this person a rough idea of where they want to go. They maybe need a plan, an actual action plan as to how they're going to do this. And the way that we've got this here is breaking this down into SMART goals. Now SMART goals, SMART stands for specific, measured, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So this is making sure that you don't just set a nebulous goal like reduce stress, but you make it actually practical. Now, reducing stress daily. So how they're going to do this? They're going to practice a brief grounding or breathing exercise when they notice early signs of anxiety. There's a good one that you can do for this. It's called 4-7-8 breathing. What you do is you breathe in for a count of 4 through your nose, hold for a count of 7, and then out for a count of 8 through your mouth. Do that for 4 breath cycles. It's a very useful, very good breathing exercise that can be done every day to reduce your stress. What they're going to do, they're going to use this technique at least once a day, record it in a short note or checklist. Maybe they're just going to write it on their phone, a wee note when they've done it. It's achievable. It's going to last 2 to 5 minutes. Can be done anywhere, so it's not a big commitment. And this directly targets emotional reactivity linked to high neuroticism. Now, 4-7-8 breathing, for example, is good evidence that it does make a big difference to somebody's level of well-being, to somebody's level of anxiety. Practice it for 4 to 6 weeks, and then it becomes extremely effective at reducing anxiety. So that's a very good example of a SMART goal. Is them actually changing their behavior. Again, we pointed out the importance of actually changing the behavioral patterns that you have is one of the big differences. So instead of ruminating or worrying when stressed, pausing and using this technique. And there are others here as well. This person has developed several goals that you can look through that would be good ways to think about how they're actually going to bring about change. And then they're going to review it at the end of 4 to 6 weeks. They're going to review whether anxiety feels more manageable. They're going to review which strategies were most effective, keep the ones that were, develop them, reduce the ones that weren't, or change them. And then what adjustments need to be made to keep going forward. So this means that the plan is practical, simple, straightforward, and it's something that they can keep doing, and then they can review. And it's small changes that makes a big difference. Now, one of the big things is to make sure that you seek support where needed. Make sure that you reach out to people who can help you. Sometimes it's your friends and family. Sometimes it's a therapist. Sometimes it's university services. Myself as the module coordinator is happy to help you in this process as well. It's important that you remember as well to be compassionate towards yourself. This is about small change. Everyone has faults. Everyone has areas to improve. And having areas to improve doesn't make you any different from anybody else. So be kind and patient with yourself in order to do this to become a better version of yourself. And you can repeat this process with as many of the areas for growth as you wish. This person here has done it for one of the areas, but you can see that they could go back and they could look at all the different areas that they put down here. Now, even here, they only put one area for growth for each of the 5 factors. You could put as many as you wanted, and you could use this process to refine your own well-being as often as you wanted as well. So this is an important part of the process, and you'll be able to see the blank version here online. So go to the middle page, and you'll see this, and it's a good way to understand how you can start to use these psychological processes to actually make a difference to your life. But it's not only about weaknesses and areas for growth. Along with that, every personality has also virtues, things that we're good at, assets and parts of our personality that we want to cultivate and want to keep, things that we're good at, essentially. It's also important, and we didn't really do this in class, to identify the virtues that are associated with any particular personality factor. And you can do this using the Big Five model in the exact same way. First thing to do is to begin by identifying qualities that you want to work on and want to incorporate into your life. Some of them you might already have. With the extroversion, again, high extroversion, people who are highly extroverted are sometimes very, very sociable, can be quite assertive as well. They can be friendly and adventurous. These are all obviously important, useful, and helpful qualities that can help us throughout life. Low extroversion, people can be thoughtful. They can have a lot of independence. They can be calm under pressure. They can be very open-minded and show loyalty. This is, again, by no means an exclusive list, but it gives you an idea of some of the different traits. High trait open people are very creative. If you are highly trait open, then you're maybe likely to explore new ideas. You're maybe be likely to enjoy art, to maybe even try to create art or to create music. Not just play an instrument, but to be able to actually create something of your own. You might find things like travel very interesting. You might find that you enjoy beauty and you enjoy the aesthetic, and you can appreciate that. There's also a sense of independence and adventurousness as well with high trait openness. Low trait openness also associated with some virtues. People who are low in trait openness can be good at being conservative, and by conservative we mean keeping traditions going that work, keeping going things that we know are reliable, not being interested in change for change's sake, but actually making sure that change is done appropriately. They can be very pragmatic, not necessarily interested in big ideas, but interested in making sure that the small things get done to keep things running and just to keep the stability needed for moving along. You might not think that there are many virtues associated with high trait neuroticism, but there actually are. Being very emotionally sensitive and realizing that life can be hard for other people, and therefore having empathy, and one of the big positive traits with high neuroticism. Also, being able to see problems before other people see them is a very important trait as well. Low neuroticism can also be useful in certain ways. It can make people calm. It can mean that they're good in a crisis. It can mean that they've got better mental health in general. It can mean that they're good at long-term planning. Not necessarily worried about too many difficulties in the future. Conscientiousness, there's obviously a lot of a lot of good traits associated with high conscientious people, being goal orientated, being orderly, and being self-disciplined, being good at planning, being good at organizing. These are all skills that are highly valued within our society, and are really highly sought after, and will stand in good stead in a lot of different areas in life. Low conscientiousness can also be associated with some virtues. Things like playfulness, spontaneity, and flexibility. Often these are skills that are needed working with a team, and having a good blend within a team can actually be quite helpful. Agreeableness, high agreeableness is associated with compassion, and it's again very, very useful working in healthcare, making sure that you're cooperative and polite, patient, good at team working, all these different traits. Low agreeableness is also associated with virtues, being assertive and making sure that problems are not left unaddressed is one of the big virtues for low agreeableness. Being independent and being tough-minded and showing independence, all these are all really, really strong traits. Okay, so the next thing you might think is, well, what do I do that I've got these virtues? What do I do that I've looked at them? You can use the worksheet that we've provided on Moodle to fill in and to look at exploring your virtues and how to cultivate them as well. If you look at the example sheet that we've got here, we can scroll down and we look at the virtues. So again, same idea as before. Think about particular personality areas that you think, right, that's an area that I really want to cultivate. It may be that you are somebody who's prudent and stable, let's say. Somebody who's responsible and diligent, that's good. And you can reflect on your current standing within each virtue. Be honest about yourself and to think about how you embody that virtue best in daily life. Where do you excel at it? For this person here, responsibility and diligence, this is one of my strongest virtues. Consistently meet commitments and work hard. It's also maybe got a downside, but it's the positive is the hard workingness in there. And then you can also then set goals, again, smart goals, making sure that you are using those virtues in a way which is positive for you. And you can think about that in terms of how you're going to take that forward in your life. Now, based upon that, you can develop action plans based upon each virtue. For this person here, it's using checklists to define task completion rather than overworking. That's important. Schedule weekly reflection times to review flexibility and openness. This can also be useful. You can also then think about what sort of obstacles are going to get in the way. What kind of ways am I going to trip myself up, or what ways are maybe other people going to make life difficult for this? For this person here, they've got fear of negative evaluation may limit assertiveness, for example, or habitual overthinking may reduce follow through. High workloads may crowd out recovery time and reflection. So they have to think about, well, how am I going to manage that? It may be that they have to have a conversation with somebody about their workload, their line manager. They might have to rethink about their priorities, for example. And making sure that if you want to stay on track with cultivating these virtues, having some sort of accountability way of making sure that you stay on track. Now, this can be sharing your goals with a mentor or a friend, or it can be using things like journaling. This person's going to keep a weekly reflective journal to monitor their progress on where they want to go, and then periodically reviewing this as you go along this track and you go along the path that you're trying to follow and you're trying to forge for yourself, making sure that you periodically reflect and decide whether you're still on the path that you wanted to be on, and also whether you might want to change path, whether there may be something else that you want to work on and cultivate. So have a go at this exercise before you move on to the pre-course work for next week.